We've sought to bring together some of the leading lights in regeneration, from developers to politicians, from public sector to funders to journalists.
Alongside politicians and key influencers, we sought to open a debate to identify new approaches to cooperation and partnerships that will herald a new dawn in collaboration between public and private sector property owners.
Today is about generating discussion and debate, coming up with some key new concepts and key action areas.
Let me start by saying something very straightforward, which is that Conservatives do care about regeneration. We believe that regeneration is the key to long-term success in this country, and for that reason it will form a major plank of our economic recovery plan. And as we emerge from this recession and move forward as a country, we must make sure that no area is left behind. The unwieldy bureaucracies of this government can no longer fulfil the expectations of communities or meet the needs of our economy. By undermining local communities and preventing people from having a say over the decisions that directly affect them locally, you stifle innovation, reduce growth and undermine sustainable development. I strongly believe that localism does hold the key.
Well, I think we agree that communities do need to be engaged. It's really how we go about doing that. We must engage the communities. They must be done with rather than done to.
Can I just ask what are the blockers and barriers, in your opinion?
Well, I think some of them are national government targets. What you have is a focus then on delivering the target rather than delivering the outcome.
The current government has placed its faith in an army of distant bureaucrats, far removed from the decisions that they make and unaccountable to their local communities. Our message is simple: we need to empower local people. Power needs to be devolved so that communities, instead of being forced to rely on a remote and impenetrable tier of regional government, can kickstart regenerations in their own areas. Our approach puts trust in democracy by decentralising power and putting communities and their elected representatives in charge.
What can we focus on by way of the future? Employees, investors, tenants, public, private sector professionals. How do we identify them within the challenges of one question I'd like to open this discussion with? How are we going to make that business model provide a cultural framework that works within whatever the new structures might be? So I just throw that out there by way of stimulating debate.
Well, I think there is sort of a broad consensus on the need to look at the social regeneration and particularly some of the intractable issues that will still be there when the economic cycle comes back, as it inevitably will. And so it seems to me that any government of whatever colour needs to look at the fact that we have over 5 million people on out-of-work benefits, that we have significant levels of now third-generation welfare dependency, people who should be putting their energy into useful things in the community are making rational career choices to be criminals. And we can't really put that aside and say, well, that's just one of those things. We actually have a civic responsibility and a social responsibility. We want to remove a lot of the red tape and bureaucracy from the planning system, and we will be pro-development and bring about real incentivised localism with a pro-development stance. Planning under a Conservative government will be simpler, quicker and cheaper. It will focus on sustainable development and it will restore democratic and local control. I think one of the things we are thinking of that was launched in Grant Shapps's Housing Room paper was to open up in a much more transparent way buildings and land in the ownership of government and quasi-government organisations. Not necessarily that the day after they will be developed or generated, but that there is greater public understanding of what the facilities are out there.
The main thing is developing and also not just new infrastructure, but existing infrastructure as well. And then if we can provide the infrastructure, then that will hopefully enable the private sector to have better confidence to come in and bring the investment into an area.
A general power of competence will be a visible symbol of the autonomy and authority of local government. It will encourage better collaboration and in effect the evolution of city government based on mutual benefit without the need for more bureaucratic structures and costly reorganisations. Our incentives will encourage new house building by matching local authorities' council tax take for each new house built for 6 years, as I mentioned. This powerful new incentive for local government and local people to encourage rather than resist new housing will ensure the right level, type and location of development.
From what you've said, are you going to hold local authorities to the housing numbers then they've already put forward for the RSSs?
That's a good question. What we are going to do is use legislation to allow them to vary the numbers.
Because that would still give you at least some sort of local target-led environment. My concern is that we just end up in complete melting.
Well, we don't want you in court. We don't want you being sued by developers, and it's in no one's interest that happens. We are determined to help the weaker areas of the country to improve their economic performance. In so doing, we intend to reverse the decline of social mobility under this government. In conclusion, Conservative governments have a strong record of economic regeneration and urban renaissance. We believe it is possible to combine a commitment to localism with a wider remit of value for money for the taxpayer, whilst delivering a better place for communities to live and a site that attracts business and enterprise. Hundreds of words about, for instance, multi-area agreements and hundreds of long-winded consultations, however well intentioned, will not bring about recovery. Although regeneration has taken a massive knock in the past 12 months, I feel it will be the crux of our recovery.
We picked up very much on the Minister's comment that regeneration will be the crux of our recovery, and we felt housing absolutely integral to that regeneration.
We had quite a sort of catch-all session that was about sustainable connections, which we've interpreted to be about how you create fantastic places which both are of quality and are sustainable in principle.
A new appraisal method, recognising the cost savings in crime, health, education, antisocial behaviour. That the renewal, the social, the cultural bit could equally provide a number of challenges and actually threaten the growing regeneration and economic attraction appeal of students as well as business regeneration.
Education is the primary driver, we think, for regeneration, both in terms of social as well as physical regeneration.
Clearly, large organisations who employ the number of people that we do with the turnover that we have must make some contribution to wider regeneration.
We thought that if you started looking at this a bit more creatively, a lot more robust in the negotiations, I think there's a win-win-win for everybody.
In More for Less Britain, we need to share best practice now more than ever. So I commend the seminar today. I think it's been an excellent event.
Taking that passion, bringing it together with skills and knowledge and expertise for delivery.
The social side of sustainability clearly needs tackling, and I think it's been neglected. Yeah, the carbon issues are important, but we've got a handle on those. We know how to tackle that. The social side is much more challenging and also will yield a bigger payback, in my view, in the longer term.
I think after today's event, collaboration is a real possibility. I mean, we've been talking about new collaborative processes for a very long time now, and it was really good to come along today and actually see, to get some really deep discussion about how that's actually going to work.
My hat is off to the team putting it together, and I'm very, very grateful indeed to have been part of it, and very grateful indeed for the comments of Stuart Jackson, who I thought was completely on the money about the fact that the recession has already started, localism has already begun under the recession, and that regeneration will be the crux of the recovery in the economy. So good news all round.